Thokozani, guys. Thokozani. Hello. No, whoever you are, I can't want to join my video. Please don't do that because I'm just here to teach. Thokozani, guys, there's no music today. Because for some reason, I don't know, man. My speaker's not working. I think it needs a battery charge. Thokozani, guys, Thokozani. Plus, we have a lot to cover. I'm hoping if I don't cover everything, guys, we'll do a part 2 because this is very important. Thokozani, let's wait for others to come through. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Hope everybody's ready for Monday, whatever Monday looks like for you. I know in South Africa, you guys, it's 9 p.m. It's 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Like the sun is out, it's bright. So, hello, who's here? Let me greet people. Tebelo, I see Rain, I see Rahab, Nolutando, Bongiwe, Katleho, Grace. Thank you guys for coming. Batabile, Sarah. Do you guys notice something interesting about this page? This page seems to attract a whole lot more women than men. I don't think it's by accident. Robert, hi Robert, it's been a while. Thokoza, thank you for joining. Figile, Moronga, Machabo, Precious, Makala, Thokozani, guys, I really appreciate you. Okay, good. For me, when we get to like 100, that's enough, and we're at 130. Thokoza Kokosaru. Tabi, Thokoza Tawanda, you are watching. Hello. Duchess Dudu, Tamagu. All right, Thokozani, Tamagwini, Tobela, Dumelang, Lesedi, Lehanya, Jambo, Muribwanji. Everybody, how are you doing? So guys, Tawanda, how are you? I wanted us to talk about something that's really important. And like I said, it's a long topic, and I would say please take from it what applies to you. What you don't think is applicable, you know what? It's neither here nor there. But I felt really called to talk about the mother wound because this is something that I have had to work through myself, and one of the things I can say for certain is if you have deep mother wounds, they can cause blockages in your life. If you have deep mother wounds that are not healed, they can cause you to feel stagnant in your life. Deep mother wounds can cause the kind of depression you don't really understand. Deep mother wound cause all sorts of things. So before we go, I'd like to define what it is we call the mother wound, right? The mother wound is trauma that you have inherited from your mother because of her unhealed trauma. And she probably inherited her trauma because of unhealed trauma in her mother. So what does it look like? This motherhood. What is it? First, let's take a look at what is the manifestation of this trauma, say in your own mother. Now, disclaimer, I'm not here making excuses for your mothers, because I know there's some of you who are going to feel some type of way. And if what I say starts to irritate or get at you, it means you have a deep mother wound. If you find yourself not wanting to hear what I'm about to say, it means you have a deep mother wound. It means you're holding a lot of resentment and anger towards your mother or your grandmother, depending on who it is that raised you. Now, here's the mother wound. It's that inherited trauma, right? That you are receiving from your unhealed mother, who also probably got it from her unhealed mother, who got it from her unhealed mother, and so on and so forth, to create this matrilineal wound that gets carried from mother to children, from mothers. Now, this mother wound applies to both women and it applies to men. I want to look at it in terms of what it looks like, how this trauma manifests for women, and then how this trauma manifests for men. Look at it this way. I'll give an example. It makes it easier. There were things that were said to you and done to you by your mother that you haven't healed from. What might be those things? Harsh words coming out of your mother's mouth. Harsh words about how you look. Harsh words about how you behave. Now, let's pause. There is a difference between reprimanding your daughter and shaming her. Your teenage daughter sneaks out, goes out with friends. You are really angry, you're upset, she comes home, and the words that come out of your mouth are, usuyisfebe, usuyafeba, suthanda madoda, you're disgusting. You will never amount to anything. Usudayisa ngomzimba. So all those words, I don't want to say them in English because I get flagged by Facebook if I say certain words. But you know, it's basically you are hurling a very painful, traumatic word at your 15-year-old child by saying Nguti, she is a WHORE because she snuck out, went with her friends, did things teenagers do, which is sneak out when they can. And this is how you spoke to her. Those kind of words cause such a deep wound. And it's a wound that she can carry into her life and into her daughter's life if she happens to have a daughter. I want you to think about that for a minute. And I know right here, I can feel Spirit is telling me that as I'm sitting here, there are women here who heard those words out of their mothers' mouths or mother figures' mouths. The next thing, your daughter does something or answers you in a way that you think is inappropriate, in a way that you think is disrespectful. And what flies? A backhanded slap or a full-on beating. It is not the physical harm that you're causing this child that she's going to carry into her adult life. It is the emotional trauma that is caused by that violence that you just gave her. She has basically absorbed the violence you received from your mother right into her body. As you are beating or slapping her with every punch, with every kick, what you're doing is she's absorbing that. She's absorbing the trauma. Yes, she's going to suffer some bruises. The physical heals very quickly, especially in young people, right? But the emotional trauma that she has absorbed with every blow you've given her is interpreted in her body as, I am unworthy, I am disgusting, I am shameful, I am ugly. My mother doesn't want me. My mother doesn't love me. Those are the things she is absorbing. And it's creating a blueprint for the kind of mother that she's going to be. Another example. Your mother has several of you. I'm going to talk about your mother so that you can see if you recognize yourself in your mother. Your mother has several of you. 2 boys, 3 girls, as an example. You observe and you watch as your mother gives the boys preferential treatment, excuses them from house chores because ngabafana, tells you to leave food and you guys get less because the boys must eat. Matter of fact, she may make you dish for the boys before you can dish for you and your sisters. You have observed your mother sending your brothers to give you a good beating when she perceives that you have done something wrong. You observe that your mother, even among your sisters, say there are 5 sisters, let's say, so 5 girls, 2 boys. You're observing your mother show favoritism to one of your sisters. But every time your mother opens her mouth, it's harsh words for you. You have sometimes caught your mother giggling or smiling or laughing with one of your sisters, and you are watching. And the minute you show up, her face changes. And she sends you on an errand. Hey, when hambeng enzeliti. Athi ugqokeni namhlanje? Yini le osigqokile? Ugqokile manje? Right? Every time your mother sees you, harsh words. But you have seen your mother treat other people, maybe not even your siblings, but your neighbors who are your same age. You have seen your mother treat them with more kindness than she does you. You have heard your mother ask your neighbor after her children, "How are those beautiful girls of yours? How? That's wonderful." You show up, your mother looks you up and down and says, "Have you done the dishes?" Nothing you do can ever solicit something positive from your mother. All these things, you have never actually sat and asked yourself as a child, why is this happening? Why? Because you're a child. You are absorbing. That's all you do most times when you're a kid. Besides, most times with a mother like that, you can't talk back. Most times with a mother like that, where do you even start? You're terrified of her. You try your best to show your mother that you're a good girl, to prove to your mother that you are worth her love, you are worthy of her love, but she doesn't see it. You are absorbing the rejection. So now you're sitting here, many of you, you are mothers yourself. And you are doing things to your own children that were done to you. Not because you're a bad person, but because you're an unhealed and wounded person. Many of you got pregnant the same way your mother got pregnant out of wedlock. You got pregnant out of wedlock. The same way that your mother has you and your siblings by different fathers is exactly the same way that you now have 3 kids by different men. Whatever the circumstances were that had your mother have you out of wedlock and your other siblings by different men, that's not the issue. The point is you are repeating a matrilineal wound. And if you have daughters, they are going to repeat that matrilineal wound. You may say, how I'm cool. Now, why are you saying that having children out of wedlock is a matrilineal wound? Because it is. Because your matrilineal wound matters when it comes to relationships. See, if you're a broken, defeated, listen, the first person you fall in love with in your life is your mother. That's the first person. Most people think it's my crush that I had in school. That wasn't love. The first person you are deeply, deeply in love with is your mother. So the absence of your mother for you emotionally, the physical abuse which relates and is concerned with being emotionally absent is the biggest wound you can ever have. And what it does is it sets up a nice, fertile ground for more wounding. A lot of people who never received that motherly love find themselves in abusive, toxic relationships and cannot get out. Because the first person who was supposed to love you, strengthen your self-esteem, help you to set boundaries, make you feel worthy of love and respect, didn't give you that. You don't know what that is. So now you're grown and you're in a relationship with somebody and they're treating you any kind of way, and you will sit and you will take it. That's how deep the mother wound is. Your choice of partner. Many of you left home and ran into the arms of the first man you met who smiled at you because home was hot. You didn't want to be there anymore. Home drove you into the hands of the wrong person. That's why that relationship didn't work out. Because it was never meant to happen in the first place had you been healed. And then after that, it's another wrong relationship on top of another wrong relationship. Do you see how you can have 3 baby daddies? It's not rocket science. Some of you, as women, are right now living in the house with the same person who has wounded you so deeply because life. Either you're in her house or maybe you're in your house, but now she's a little bit older, she's elderly, so she's moved in with you. What is that like? Knowing and like you there's this deep something that causes you and your mother not to see eye to eye. But it's too scary to go deep and dig it out. It's too scary to go and meet that inner little girl. It's too scary to go and deal with the fact that when you were assaulted or raped by umalume, your mother beat you and told you to shut up and never talk about that again. It's so hard. Now you're in the same confined space with the same person who, when you told her about so-and-so molesting you or raping you, she called you a liar or asked you, when I will go again, what were you wearing when you went out there? How many times have I warned you not to go out like that? So you swallow it and you keep it and you hold it. Now you have a daughter. Poor thing likes shorts All teenagers love shorty shorts. But the minute you see your child, something happens in you and you scream at her. Go and get dressed properly. Because you're not addressing your own woundedness and where this triggered response, like you fly in a rage because your daughter is wearing shorts to go and play or hang out with her friends. Or worse still, you bar her, no friends, no going out. Simple. I want you to breathe while we're having this conversation. It's going to cause a lot of triggering for a lot of people. But it's necessary. That is the mother wound. That is the mother wound. Now, where boys are concerned, or men, the absence of a mother, you see, all children are human. Let's just start before we gender them. Your first love, man or woman, is your mother. Now, your mother is not there, or your mother has this hatred or dislike for you, and you have no idea why. You're this little boy who adores this woman, like you're looking at her and you're like, this is my God, this is God. Initially, when you start praying, the image of your mother is the image of God. You know how, like you would die for this woman. She rejects you. She looks disgusted at you. She throws insults at you, which you don't understand. But you know what? She hates your father for whatever it is he did. So you are a reminder to her of this man she hates so much. And because he's not there for her to hate and to pour her venom, that venom spills on you. You have 2 brothers, 3 brothers. Your mother, for whatever reason, has this one brother that she absolutely loves. She adores this boy. This boy is everything. But when she looks at you, you can read all the emotions, the regret, the resentment, the anger. Maybe your father, out of the others, doesn't pay child support. You get told, Baba akhoga thumi imali la. Funa ukudla kwani. Hlala phansi. Insults thrown at you. And yet you weren't there when they were making you. But because this one, who she's livid with, is not there, you are a soft target. Even within the family, you hear certain things said about you because of the sins of your father and this broken down relationship. Ugogo or auntie or rakadi might say things that are wounding you as a young man, as a boy. You're a kid. You don't know how to process all these things, so you absorb. You absorb. The difference between teenage boys and girls is that teenage boys get to a point where their rebellion is loud and it's violent. Anger in boys manifests so differently from girls, often because of the hormone testosterone, which is the masculine hormone that makes them men. It is the hormone of aggression. It is the hormone that helps them. In fact, it's the hormone that feeds muscle growth. So what happens? He starts bullying at school. He starts beating up other kids. he takes pleasure in torturing small animals. You know, they find a stray cat on the street. Him and his other wounded little friends torture that animal. Do you know that that's one of the first signs of danger, is when children can torture an animal and find it funny? And we see a lot of this happening. When children can torture an animal and think it's hilarious, something is deeply wrong. They are deeply wounded. Eventually, this boy will see girls. But because the resentment and the dislike and the pain that he has caused by his mother or the women in his life, guess who's going to take it out on? The women out there. The disrespect that he has for his mother, for the way she has handled herself when choosing other men over him. See, women, you don't understand what happens to a boy child. When he sees that you are choosing your partner, your new partner, even his father, over him. It sits different than with a girl child. So now he's out there and he's causing havoc on young women who are his peers, who have done absolutely nothing to him, but they're getting hurt. People get it wrong sometimes and they're like, no, but you see, he didn't have a male role model in the family to raise him right. Yay. Sometimes they are there. There are the uncles, there are people in the community who try, but that mother wound has him hating women without him knowing he hates women. He's callous with women. He doesn't feel anything. Matter of fact, for him, like I said, when they see tortured animals or they torture animals and think it's funny, when he hurts a woman and she cries, it gives him a sense of perverse pleasure. Because in his mind, that is his mother crying. He's hurting his mother. By the way, this is the same boy who, if you say anything about his mother, whether you are a boy or a girl, he's coming at you with a knife. So this thing that people do when they hear of a rape or a brutal murder of a woman and they say, but you also have a woman as a mother, but you also have aunties and sisters. Listen, misogyny doesn't work like that. He has those. Actually, you can't appeal to somebody like that by saying, Mara, imagine this was your sister or your mother, because what you're doing is the opposite of what you want to happen. He already hates his mother and his sisters. He just doesn't know it. He already hates all the women in his family. He just doesn't know it. So you asking or appealing to his sense of, that is your mother. Imagine that was your sister. This was happening to. Imagine. It doesn't compute here. Because already the reason he's the way he is because of that feminine environment he just came out of. You see how we're getting it wrong, activists and all sorts out there? We need to dig deeper. That is the definition of the mother wound. It is unhealed women perpetuating the same trauma onto their own children. So what must happen? You're asking, are you asking what must happen? Can you heal from such trauma? Let me see in the comments, who thinks that you can heal from such trauma and who thinks that it's a done deal? It's too deep. Let me see. Tell me. Can you heal from such trauma? The thing is, you can heal from such trauma. The question is, do you want to heal from such trauma? The question is, do you want to heal those wounds? Because I want to tell you something that you're going to find really weird. There are some people who want to hold on to those wounds. There are some people who want to hold on to that bitterness. You know, it's like cutting your nose to spite your face, right? Life stagnant, toxic relationships, toxicity nje everywhere. But you want to hold on to that because you think you're punishing your mother. Meanwhile, you're punishing yourself, cutting your nose to spite your face. Some of you believe you've moved on. I'm kulum no ma. I'll never talk to that woman again. I want nothing to do with her. I don't want her in my space. You've moved on. Have you? What's your life looking like? See, sometimes the person, and this is if Uma is still alive, even if she's not, sometimes the person who has caused you the deepest pain, especially that mother wound, is the same person who can help you heal it. Want to know how? You tell her. I will never talk to her again. No, I want nothing. I want nothing. And meanwhile, we are cooler. Meanwhile, you are limping. But you say you don't want to talk to her. She's still alive. I don't want to know anymore. Meanwhile, you're struggling. Free yourself. Don't do it for her. You're doing this for you. If you can have these tough conversations with your mothers and your grandmothers. You know, in our family, we don't talk about these. Yay! Be the first to start talking about it. It's about your life we're talking about, and the life of your children and your grandchildren. Unless, of course, you're saying you don't care. Be the one to open these conversations. Be the one. Be the one to say, Wema Mkulu, do you remember when I was 12 years old and you told me I would amount to nothing and I would end up as Febe? Do you remember? Am I as Febe now? Get it out. It's toxic. Here's an exercise. When you have a moment, I'd like you to do this. And I know that for some who may be watching this, you're like, oh, I don't have energy to go there. I'm too busy trying to look after these children that I have already. My mother's issues, I cannot. How are you taking care of those children? Are you really genuinely able to be emotionally there for them if you have not healed your mother wounds? How many of you grew up saying, I'll never be like my mother? Shame. And yet now you're a mother, you're finding yourself in those circumstances. And when push comes to shove, in a moment of unawareness, you are also backhanding your daughter. You are also looking at your child like he's your eye. We are the walking wounded. Many people are just surviving, not living. And I'm not talking on a material level. You can live in a mansion, drive a Mercedes, have all the money you want, and still be in survival mode and not living. You have filled your life with all these material things, but it doesn't take away from that mama-shaped hole in your heart. You're not living. And that mother wound, it needs you to look at it. So your exercises, take pen and paper, sit down. Write out those hurts. And don't try to rationalize them. See, women, I know you, especially women, even men. You're busy in your head making excuses for what happened. No matter, but you know what? Look how great I turned out, you know? Nowadays, kids are turning out bad because, you know what? We're not allowed to beat them anymore. Oh, and you are great. Why are you people in denial? I admitted I was smacked when I was growing up. And I admitted one day, I had to. It was so hard to actually call it by its name and call it abuse. Because it wounded me. Let's not make excuses for things that were done to us because we're too scared and too frightened to look inward and admit that wrong was done to us. Communities, nations, countries will never heal if we don't start doing this work. We will continue to wonder why young people are going crazy out there. And yet it starts with us. We are not looking inward. How many parents say, but I did the best. Yo, what have I not done for this child? Hey, went to good schools. I spent my last money. But children don't remember what it is that you did for them. Although we are always constantly reminding them of what we did and what we sacrificed for them. Kids remember how you made them feel. If your sacrificing for your kids came at the price of this emotional wounding, admit it. And fix it. See, guys, as long as we are alive like this as humans, we have every opportunity to make right that which went wrong. It becomes very hard when somebody has crossed over. You don't get that chance to tell them how you feel. I'm not saying be disrespectful. I'm not saying yell at anyone, but I'm saying have these important conversations while you can, because you free yourself. And don't do it expecting an apology. Do it expecting to release and free yourself and start your healing journey, because an apology might never come. If an apology comes, take it graciously. So you're doing it to free yourself, and you're doing it so that this your mother, this your grandmother, this your rahadi, this your aunt, when she crosses over, she can go in peace. Because if not, you might be, especially if you're ancestrally gifted, you might be the very same person who will have to facilitate her healing and cleansing. Been there. Fix it in this here and now, because it won't go away just because they die. It doesn't go away just because you're in a new country and you left them in the old country. That wound, those wounds, they follow you, follow. They are your shadow wherever you go. And they are obliterating your future. They are messing you up. Some of you who are ancestrally gifted can't progress to the next level. Your dreams are closed right now. You know why? Wounding. That's why I'm talking about this. You have an ancestral calling to be uvusumuzi for your lineage, to be the wealth restorer for your lineage. But they can't connect with you. You can cleanse and cleanse and cleanse and palaza and futa, but if those wounds are there, you're going nowhere fast. That is why some of you are struggling. Nesithunywa senu, isithunywa is about healing and forgiveness. Hayibo, is somebody hearing me? If you have blockages and are not healed, you can go through a 2-week Thunywa program, doing everything. Go to the Mpopoma to go and Potula. Nothing. Nix. And you will say to yourself, yo, this Mkulu messed up my stuff. This one didn't do it right. Meanwhile, uzavela ugogo in consultation and say, hey, wena, lungisa izinto lo mama wakho. Angikhona ukuxhumana nawe. I can't connect with you, my child. Your heart is too hard. There's too much pain. I'm over here, but I cannot reach you. And in between you and Gogo stands your mother. Real talk. Real talk. So man or woman, boy or girl, we all have the mother wound, and there's only one way to heal that mother wound. Face it. Face it. Admit that it is there. To yourself first. And then go and face mother or grandma or someone you can talk this to. Some of you are scared to talk to your mothers because you feel like she won't hear me, or like she will. There's nothing more painful than having your pain invalidated. And our elders will do that. You'll bring up something, like I said, I'm 50 and I'm bringing up something that happened to me when I was 12, and they'll look at me like, hey, bo. They've even forgotten what they said or did. And they'll look at you like, you're talking about things that happened when you were 12. It's crazy making, I know. But you can just say, no, you may have forgotten, but I haven't. And I just wanted to let you know that that thing you said to me those years ago was off. I get, oof, yo, hey. That might be all you get. Or you might get, oof, that's easy. A very insincere apology. You don't care about that. You care about you and healing. So that you're not going to bleed on your children who have done absolutely nothing. So that your children won't bleed on their children who've done absolutely nothing. So, deep breath. Yeah. It's not easy. And like I said, you're not supposed to be doing it on your own. Find somebody who can help you work through this. This is not that turn the other cheek moment. The mother wound is too, hey, I will not turn the other cheek, man. Go deep. Dig it out. Face it. There are other kinds of wounds that have been caused by mothers, and I'm not even going to go into why they do them, but there is this issue of mothers who tagata their own children. That's a very hard one for me when it comes up in consultation. Most times I have to try not to cry. I cry when it's done. Because it's very hard for me as a mother to imagine any circumstance that I would willingly and intentionally hurt my own child. And I don't want to cry. But there are mothers who are doing it. There are mothers who have destroyed their children's lives. There are mothers who have gone and who have vowed, using imiti, that their daughters will never marry. There are mothers who have thrown izilwane at their children. There are mothers who are jealous of their own children. Mothers who see their daughters as some sort of competition. There are mothers whose inward resentment for their own sons is turned against the daughter-in-law, torturing somebody's child for absolutely nothing other than the fact that she loves your son. Do you know that you can be tortured because you love in a manner that this mother-in-law was never able to do? So she starts to feel like you're some sort of a replacement. You are a mirror for her own failures and inadequacies, and she will torture you for that. She will try to destroy that relationship because of that. There are mothers-in-law who have a twisted relationship with their sons. I call it emotional incest, where umakoti becomes a competitor. She is in competition with you and envies the position you're in as being loved by her son. There are mothers-in-law whose own husbands didn't love them. They became obsessed with their boy children. And the result is, now that he's married, this makoti is a rival. And because they cannot love this makoti, they cannot love this makoti's children. I know there are a lot of you who've always wondered, why is it that the paternal side of the family, why is it that they have a hard time? Paternal grandmothers, it's some of those deep wounds that don't get looked at. And so now here is mother-in-law bleeding on you, makoti, bleeding on you for a wound, with a wound that you did not cause, but she's there, bleeding on you and your children. Sometimes it's because her own mother-in-law treated her like trash. And that set the blueprint, and now she's treating you like trash. And your poor partner feels caught between the two of you. You as a makoti don't have to put up with that, because that is not your burden to bear. You will need to set boundaries. Free your partner by bypassing him and dealing directly with mom-in-law. Set boundaries if you need to. I call it separation of church and state. Separate the powers so that she knows that when she's with you in your home, that's your kingdom. When you are at hers, you are at hers. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. There are grandmothers who tagata their own grandchildren. There are rachadis, meaning obabegazi, who tagata their own brother's children. This is what the mother wound looks like. And you who's here watching, you're not here for no reason. You're the one who can fix it. You're the one who can fix it. You have everything in you to be able to fix this so that you can live and not survive, so that your children can live and not survive. You don't have to live in survival mode, because survival mode means there's a war. Refuse to live like that, because eventually it kills. Stress kills. When it's wartime, it's stress. Cortisol and adrenaline are at an all-time high in your body, and those two things destroy you from the inside out. Choose life. Choose yourself. And for God's sake, choose your children. Love your children. Heal yourself so that you can love those children. For the men, if you're here and I've described you or some part of you, I've described some part of the life you're living now, I've described a certain type of mother that you have, you too can fix this. Look at your own relationship with your mother, so that when your wife comes and says, honey, this and this, you don't immediately become defensive and say, hey, I'm Tanduma, you don't like my mother. Aibo. Kanjan. But if you don't heal your mother wound, you will never be able to objectively look at your mother. Never. Never. Because your guilt for your resentment for her will prevent you from looking at her as she is. So anyone who comes and says, Uma wako, hey, we're back in the streets. And yet this poor woman that you claim to love and that you married is the one who has to put up with her toxicity because you won't deal with your wounds so you can face her and see her for who she is. Hey, that is not a life. As a man, choose. Do you want to be happy, genuinely happy? Or do you always want to be sitting in a tense crossfire between your manipulative mother and your wife on the other hand, who's like, who am I married to? Your children, how do they relate to grandma? How does grandma treat your children in your absence? You see, children, when they're young, especially, are angels. You want to know the truth about somebody? Go and talk to a 3 or 4-year-old. They'll tell you. Be careful. But go deep. Don't look at everything face value. Things are not always as they seem. do the work. Oh, guys. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. You're in my prayers this week. I know that I've unearthed a whole lot of stuff. But we heal together. We have to. So that our children and our children's children don't have to go through this. So that when we are ancestors, we can say, I did my part. So was I. Love you guys. See you next time.